Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and thank you all for your support. If you are new to the channel, a special welcome to you and please stick around because I have amazing content coming up for you. Today we are making Swiss meringue buttercream and we're using fresh egg whites. I have another video on my channel where I made Swiss meringue buttercream from pasteurized egg whites, but this time we're using fresh egg whites. The Swiss meringue buttercream is very similar to Italian meringue buttercream, but the method of preparing them is slightly different. So we'll start by getting our butter ready. Since we need to have the butter come to room temperature before we add it to the meringue, I'm just going to cut it up into cubes. That will facilitate the softening process because now it's colder, it's winter, so the butter doesn't soften as fast as it does in the summer. So set that aside and get our eggs ready. I'm using a different method to separate the egg yolks from the egg whites this time. So I just cracked the eggs into a bowl. I'm using 7 eggs. So we need the egg whites from 7 fresh eggs, large eggs. So I just cracked it into a bowl and I'm using a spoon to take out the egg yolks. And I just gently shake it or wiggle it and let the egg whites drop into the bowl. We need to be very careful so the egg yolks don't break. We don't need any fat in the egg whites. So we'll keep separating them until we have only the egg whites in the bowl. You have successfully separated them without breaking any of the yolks. And then we have the bowl of our stand mixer. It's nice and clean, there's no fat in it. So we'll put the egg whites into that bowl, and to that we'll add 1.5 cup of granulated sugar. So for Swiss meringue buttercream, you add the sugar into the egg whites and melt it over a pot of boiling water until the sugar dissolves and the eggs are heated up. So we'll just whisk that and we'll make sure the bottom of the bowl doesn't touch the water. It's just the steam that is going to be heating up the egg whites and at the same time melting the sugar or dissolving the sugar. So we'll test it with our in between our fingers just to make sure the sugar is dissolved. And we'll keep mixing until the sugar dissolves and the egg whites are hot. So at this point the bowl is hot to touch. I transferred that to the stand mixer and I'll just beat that with a whisk attachment at medium speed. So we'll keep whisking until we achieve stiff peaks, and at that point the mixture would have cooled down and we'll start adding the butter. So this process, the beating, takes about 10 minutes before we can achieve the stiff peaks. So it's quite a process. So we'll keep beating and checking. At this point it's thickening, it's getting thick, but it hasn't formed even the soft peaks yet. Keep beating on medium-high speed. At this point it's at the soft peak stage, but we'll keep beating until it reaches stiff peaks. Still soft. Beat a little bit longer. So right now we have reached the stiff peaks. You can see the meringue is nice and shiny and stiff. So at this point we will switch our attachment to the paddle attachment before we start adding the butter. So that's the paddle attachment that we'll use to beat the mixture of the butter and the meringue. So the butter has softened but it's still a little bit cold. So we'll start adding 1 cube at a time and beating at medium speed. You need to add just a little bit at a time so that it incorporates well, because we're adding fat into a liquid and they don't mix very well. So keep adding 1 cube at a time until we add all the butter in. So I've added the last cube of butter and I'll just let that beat until everything is incorporated. So I'm just scraping the sides and bottom of the bowl. It still looks soupy. It hasn't combined well yet, so we'll keep beating at medium-high speed. At this point, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt to balance the sweetness. Stop again and scrape the bottom and sides of the bowl and check the consistency is still runny or soupy. So we'll keep beating. So the meringue buttercreams take a lot of time and patience to do, but it's so worth it because at the end the buttercream is so nice and smooth and silky, yet not too sweet. So I've checked again and it's still runny, soupy. It's not well combined. So I'm guessing the butter is a little bit colder than it should be. So I'm going back to the stove now. I'm putting the bowl over the pot of boiling water again. And then I'll be stirring until the butter softens a little bit, until the mixture is a little bit warmer, before we will go back to the mixer to keep beating so it combines well. So if you have this problem, just heat up the bowl a little bit. You can even put part of the icing in a microwave safe bowl and melt it and add it back into the rest of the buttercream and keep beating. So I'm beating now at high speed, and as you can see, it has started combining. Let's check it. It's not as smooth yet, but it has started coming together. Not too soupy anymore, so that's a good sign that it has started coming together after we heated up the bowl. It means our mixture was too cold. I guess the butter was still cold. Sometimes in the winter or when your kitchen is not warm enough, you can run into this problem because the very cold butter will not combine well with the egg whites or the meringue. So we'll keep beating at high speed until we get a smooth consistency. So I'm checking again and it's getting smoother, coming together a little bit better. I'm scraping the sides and bottom of the bowl and then continue beating at high speed. So now it is getting nice and smooth. Yeah, we're almost at the right consistency. So continue beating, and at this point we'll add a tablespoon of vanilla extract for some flavor. You can add any flavoring of your choice, like almond or lemon or any flavoring you like. Okay, our icing is all done. Our buttercream is all done and it's nice and smooth now. We no longer have the curdly runny mixture. It's all nice and smooth and silky. This is perfect for topping cupcakes or filling and icing cakes, and it tastes so good. It just melts in your mouth. It's not overly sweet. That's my favorite part about Italian and Swiss meringue buttercreams. They're so nice and smooth but not too sweet, and they are very stable too. So I've prepared a piping bag with a 1mm star tip. We're going to use some of the icing to pipe some rosettes on a tray so we can see how smooth, silky and beautiful the icing looks, and it holds its shape very well. So you can use it on cupcakes or cakes or macarons. Silky smooth icing, not too sweet. So that's how you make Swiss meringue buttercream with fresh egg whites. If you have any questions or you need clarification, please leave a comment down below. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Thanks again for all your support. I really appreciate it. See you in my next video. Bye for now.